Yeah, that's all good. I think stream should be up soon. And I think we might be live. Okay, and we are live for F4. So, hello and welcome to everyone. This is the second round of pre-season, and I'll be your main commentator for the most of next season. But we've got a new person to the whole of FRL called Dan. Dan, how are you doing today ahead of the commentary? It'll be interesting, as you said. I think it's Demoniac and Andy and the new Begin, don't you? So, what are those guys like? Do you think they'll be competitive in F4, or do you think they might struggle a little bit? Yeah, that'll be very interesting. I think the comments are saying your voice might not be on share, so I think Hiddy said it. Is your voice on share? Hopefully, will be working, but at the moment I think the stream can't hear you. But anyone in the comments, just say if you can hear Dan. Ah, that's the wrong one. That's F3. If you just try your share settings while we go on a lap with the Volvo, he's just starting his Spain track, and he sadly invalidates his first lap. That's going on board with the Ferrari. Although Steven, he's only on an out lap. As I think the first one to properly set a lap will be Bar through turn 3, who's just about kept it valid. Can you just hit share, then share and broadcast, and see if your voice is on public or whatever?
That should be sorted now.
Someone please say in the comments as soon as possible if you can hear Dan, and then we can get properly onto air. Just about kept it valid. As Bar is on a lap here. Yeah, okay, we can hear, so that's all good now. So we're on board with the lap with Bar, and he's at the moment just coming through the third sector here in the Alfa Romeo. I know Evil Zook and Bar, I think, might be teammates next season. He's on a bit of a... He's hitting some of the apexes quite nicely, and we're going to see what the banker lap here is going to be from Bar. It's a 1:15. Is it going to be sub 1:20 to start off with? It is. It's a 1:18.5 from Bar. So Bar sets the bar fairly high. As I just starts rhymes, as Lewis is starting his lap. But Dan, can you see anyone who is on a lap right now, or are you just still settling in?
I'm going to go down to Stephen, who is currently on a flying lap. This looks like it's going to be a very good lap here from Stephen here. Yeah,
it'll be interesting as Illicit Brownie. He dips into the 116s, which is pretty fast, and I think you can forget about Brownie sometimes as he is a reserve, but the pace is there as it's an Alpha Tauri 1-2, but Stevens on quite a solid lap here on mediums. Do you think that's a good choice on mediums, Dan?
Yeah, round a track like Spain, I think that will probably be the best option here, because sometimes on softs it can, going around some corners, it could get a bit slippy and could cause incidents if you don't go around the corner properly. So probably medium's best option for this track.
Yeah, and Stephen, as you say, he's just coming around the last corner as the Brownie's out. So Brownie's already out. Oh, Stephen, he goes P3. So what do you make of that lap? Do you think he could possibly find some time on the softs maybe to get pole, or do you think the softs are maybe only worth a second over the mediums?
I think if he's going to go onto softs, I think he probably needs to wait until the last 6-7 minutes and then go onto the softs, come out of the pits and just go flying around that track. And I genuinely think if he can pull this off, if he goes onto softs within the last 6-7 minutes, he can definitely go for pole here in Spain.
And as you say that, Lewis is quite close to pole. He's only 6/10 off. I was just looking around. There's Humanoid, who's sadly invalidated. I know him well. He's been practicing a lot for Spain, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. Evilvo, he's also invalidated. Oh, Stephen is really struggling at turn 9, but looking at his second sector split, he's actually up on his time here. So, do you think he can possibly find time in this last sector, or do you think maybe those mediums might start to go off a little bit?
I probably would say that he may have to go into pits, but I think he can maybe push for another lap.
And he's going to come round the last corner. He's not going to pit. It doesn't look like he's running out of fuel. So he's, Stephen, as he always does, he does fuel up the car quite a bit, and he doesn't improve. But anyone you got your eye on, Dan, here, or do you think we're just waiting later on in the session for the track to rubber in?
I'll probably say waiting on till a bit later on in the session, and then wait to see what happens towards the end of qualifying.
Ooh, Senna hits the wall there, and damage is on for this pre-season race, and he has got
FRL
a
Lewis
lot of wing
has
damage.
DNF'd. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Nah, no worries.
FRL Lewis has DNF from qualifying. He did attempt to go into the pits there, but he hit the pit wall, and he is now out of qualifying here.
Yeah, and that's a big shame for him. I mean, P2 though, he's got the lap in, hasn't he? I know. I think he's trying to get his brother to join as well, Jake Gamer. So he might join in halfway through. I think there's also Day Night who could be joining, so we could see 14 drivers, but at the moment it is 12, the same number as we had for the Bahrain race. Obviously, you weren't there for the Bahrain race, but do you imagine the lap times from a few of the faster drivers will start to set that pole time a little bit lower?
Yeah, I 100% think they can do really well here in Spain, because I think Spain's probably a slightly easier track than Bahrain. So I think once they get settled into the track and they know, and they get adjusted to the corners and they know exactly what racing line to take, I think they'll do perfectly fine.
And just saying bye, he's going to start a push lap here in the Alfa Romeo. He's just going to come down the main straight. He's at the moment sitting 1.5 seconds off pole. I know Evil Zoots in the comments cheering Bar on the American. So I'm not sure what time this would be in America, to be honest. I think it'd be probably around midday, but Bar obviously is quite a regular comer in the FRL, and he's gone a bit wide, and he's just about got away with that without getting invalidation. He's actually up by 5/10 on his time, so this is really competitive, isn't it, Dan?
It is, yeah. I think there is going to be some great battles here this evening, and I honestly think that we are going to see, I reckon we could see a shock for somebody hitting P1 today, or as you said, there is some really fast drivers here, and I think the race here in Spain, it's going to be quite a close one, but we'll have to see what happens and see where people finish in qualifying.
Yeah, as you say that, I think Bar invalidated there, so that's a shame for him. Umino is just getting past there. At the moment, I think Lewis, KOFC, he's pushing on a lap. He hasn't set one before, so he's done a 51.3. I think that's fairly in a mid-pack, I imagine, but he hasn't spun as of yet, or invalidated, so it's good just to getting a nice lap at the moment. Obviously, he doesn't have a teammate here, and he is returning after the Bahrain race, where I don't think he finished it. We only had 3 finishes, I think it was, in Bahrain, but he's going to come across the line, and it's a P5, so the mediums actually seem to be quite well lasting around here, don't they?
Yeah, like I said earlier on, I think medium compound tyres will probably be the best option here. I'm currently watching this power, his name is, and he's coming around onto the final straight, but he will not be getting pole position, and he will be remaining in P7.
Yeah, I think he might still be pushing, I can't really tell. Yeah, I think he still is. He's on a wheel, in fact, and he is one of the faster drivers in F4 in the Williams with his teammate Uvilva, I think his fellow Dutchman, in P6. There's a lot of the faster Dutch guys in F4 as he's improving by 3/10 who can't make it. I know Bink can't make it, and the winner of last race, Sepp, can't either, with I think VIP GTA Gamer is missing out as well. So quite a few of the top guys aren't going to be here to make the race, so this is really going to open it up for some of the guys who don't usually get near the top step of the podium.
FRL Humanoid, he is come round, but he will only set a 119, which will put him into P9, but it will not be quite enough to put him into the podium pole position. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I think this is Humanoid's second qualifying after the social race. I think he qualified P10 there in a mostly F3 grid, so he has some solid-ish qualifying pace as he just rides over that curb a bit too much. I think he's using that curb a lot more than some of the other drivers, so definitely maximising the track but just overstepping the margin there, which is quite easy to do in Spain. As I think Ayrton Senna, he's coming around the last corner as well. He's actually going to put a lap to be 1.5 seconds off on the mediums as well. So a lot of times I imagine are going to fly through here. A lot of people aren't in the pits. Lewis is improving by 2/10 as well. So we'll go on board with him. He's get all out of shape there. The number 51 driver coming through. The right-hander, can he keep it on the track? Just about he can. I think he did a 51.3 on his last lap. So we'll see what it is. It's a 50.9, so 3/10 up. This is going to put him at the moment in P5, just ahead of O'Steven. O'Steven on the mediums though, so he could possibly improve later on. He's probably on a lap as well. But Lewis is going to be one of the first ones to cross the line. Just going to navigate his way through this last chicane. Just easing his way through. Trying not to invalidate on as he gets on a power off the last corner. And up to the line, the Haasman is going to go up to P5. So just jumps O'Steven. But O'Steven's also going to respond on the softs, I think. And O'Steven goes P2. So O'Steven looking really competitive in this qualifying session.
Evilvo is now coming round onto the final turn. And let's see where he's going to put this. This is going to be a very good lap, I think. And as he comes up to the line, and he has hit a 117.1, which puts him into P2 here for the start of the race. Time wasn't quite good enough to get a pole position, but I'm sure he can do a much better time than that.
Yeah, do you think he has enough time though for another lap?
I think that if he pushes these tyres, these soft compound tyres, and he gets to the end, I think he could get another lap. If he decides to go into pits, obviously then he does, but I think he can definitely get another lap out of these soft tyres.
Yeah, I think a few drivers just running out of fuel here, but you know Demoniac quite well, who's sitting in P6, who's just starting one of his flying laps in the AlphaTauri. Do you think he'll be one to watch? Because we've never seen him in FRL, and you know obviously a lot more than us.
Yeah, he will be a very good driver here. I think the trouble that he has is on some corners, like some of us do, we go slow around the corners, which costs us the time that we know we can get better than his full potential. Right now, I think if he pushes himself to the full potential, I don't see why he can't be in the top 5 for the start of the race. And coming towards the end of the race, I think he'll be one of the favourites to go on to win the race. And as a reserve driver, I think he will prove his worth, that he does deserve obviously a full-time seat, but obviously that's obviously down to the owners and that of the league. But I think after the race, if he puts his full potential in, he will prove his worth and that he will prove that he belongs as a full-time driver here.
Oh God! For a second there, I thought it was gonna come to blows with Volvo, but he does box, and I think the only one on a lap is Ayrton Senna, who is running quite a cheeky name there, so he should be a little bit higher, but he is 1.4 seconds off pole, and he is not just about improving on the mediums, but as you said about Demoniac, he is on the medium, so if he puts a pair of softs on, he could really mix it with the top 3 there, especially.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to put the soft compound tyres on, he probably needs to do it now, and if he wants to actually get a time, then he should really be thinking about coming back out of pits, getting his out lap done and getting onto his flying lap as soon as possible, because once it hits that 1.5-minute point, he's probably going to run out of time if he decides to come out of pits then. So I'll probably say round about now would be the perfect time to come out of pits to try and go for that top 3 start.
Ayrton Senna there just invalidates, and I think he was the next one to cross the line, which means tide power here. I didn't see a second sector split because we did go on board with the McLaren drive, but he's very fast. I think he's also another driver who's got a lot of potential in F4. Definitely could be an F3 driver in a season's time. He's flying through the last chicane here. Up to the line, he's going to go up, pick up the DRS, use all the engine power he's got, and it's P3, so he mixes it very nicely with his teammate. The Williams in a second and third position. Not sure whether he has enough time for another push lap, but it does look like he's pushing. Just misses the apex of turn 1 slightly, and turn 2. I know Barr's also on, like, he's improving by 0.3, so we could see some big improvements here. Barr in the Alfa Romeo is going to come around the last corner, keeps it nice and tidy. What's it going to be for the American? It's going to be P3, so the times are really ramping up, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah, that was a very good lap there from Barr. I could see when I've watched him earlier on in the qualifying, and he does deserve to be up there. From the laps that he's put in, he's pushed himself. Once again, another driver that has good potential, and he's pushed himself to the potential that he knows he can, and he has got into that top 3 stage where I think he belongs, and he has just spun, but he is alright, and he is still in the session.
Yeah, he lost his whole front wing, but I don't think he's going to set a lap anyway, so Barr can only get third, which is second row of the grid, but I think all eyes will be on this man, O'Stephen. He's never got a pole, I don't think, in FRL. And he has done 147 races, so he's by far the most experienced driver on this grid. I think if you put all the other drivers together, he still would be the most experienced. Rocking number 43
FRL
as well.
Humanoid. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no worries.
FRL Humanoid has just tried to go round the corner, completely misjudging it, and he has spun out, and he is now out of qualifying. But I'm sure that won't matter because there was only like 10 seconds left of qualifying here in the Spanish Grand Prix to go.
We usually get qualifying glitches, so it's not unusual, but Unai, they're just dropping it. It's very easy to do around Spain with the nature of the track. So Barr won't be setting a lap, so going on board with O'Stephen, he's on an out lap, so Ayrton Senna, he's also on a lap, so I think it's Evilvo. He's just 1/10 down, so this is Evilvo's, I imagine, last opportunity to set a competitive lap, unless we've got a qualifying glitch, where there probably will be an extra minute maybe, but it does say time remaining. I don't think it's just yet, as we would see the checkered flag on a few drives, but Evilvo just going to navigate his way through the last chicane, put the power down. He's going to try and take the shortest route up to the line here. What's it going to be for the Williams driver? Is it going to be pole? Oh, only 2/10 down on his time, and he can't get pole, but he's really, really close, isn't he?
Yeah, another really good driver there, and I've just been watching that Lewis, and he has just put in a very good lap. I honestly didn't think he was going to manage to pull it off going up there, but he has managed to pull it off. He got a 1:17, which has now put him in P3, which is a really good starting position here in Spain. And with Spain, there is some areas where you can overtake, but there's not as many overtaking options as you would like. So you need to be as high up in this grid as possible if you want to try and push and manage to get these overtakes in. So it is going to be a very interesting race to see where people end up and stuff like that. Yeah,
and someone who is pushing is O'Stephen. He's going to come up to the line here. I don't think it's going to be pole. He actually doesn't improve I'm not sure whether that was intentional or not by Stephen.
Yeah.
Ayrton Senna's going to come across the line and it's second.
P2.
What a lap by him, but Lewis, he's invalidated, and
Well
that is
done.
your qualifying grid for F4 round Spain. And it looks really close, doesn't it? Just we're going to be in for a cracker of a race, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can see this is going to be a very good race right from the off here, and there is going to be some amazing battles, and I look forward to seeing what these drivers out here have in store for us here this evening.
Yeah, just apologies. Someone sadly called me, but yeah, I think the top, that is 8, all separated, or 9 actually, all separated by just under 7/10. So I think this is, as I should probably check F3 to see if it's as close, but this is a very close grid. I think O'Steven was a bit underwhelming there on the sauce. He probably could have pushed himself up to possibly maybe P5, but some of the new guys like Demoniac, he is really impressing there, just 2/10 off. And Bar, who's being cheered on, I know, by Evil Zook, he's also right up there, so we're going to be in for a really exciting race. As qualifying's not over in F3, but it is, well, it is quite close as well. I think the top 6, yeah, the top 7, all separated by 3/10. But for F4 standards, I think this is a pretty tasty grid at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with a good start to the race and stuff like that, I'm going to say that the driver that I'm going to say I would quite like to see do well here is Bar or O'Steven, because they have really good potential here, and I think that they are going to put in the effort and the time that they know they can pull off, and I think they will do very well here this evening.
I think O'Steven is a fan favourite generally among FRL, obviously competed a very long time as well, still searching for his first win in FRL, obviously won in GHR back in Belgium, which was called off halfway through, but everyone or whoever wins, this will be their first win in FRL, as we've got Jake Gamer and Day Night joining. It does look as though we've got less than 14 drivers, which is what you would expect, but hopefully we have more than we did for the Bahrain race, where we did have 12, and I'm pretty sure it's dry, which it is. So do you have any kind of sneaky predictions of anyone who you think will do well rather than want will do well?
I think Demoniac, he's going to do very well here. Once again, O'Steven and Bar, they're going to do very well, I believe, because watching them in qualifying, they put in the laps that they know they could do, and I think they're going to be very good out here tonight. Andy, I think he can push himself, and I think he might do quite well as long as he keeps his head down and he pushes himself. Ayrton Senna, I think he's going to do very well as well.
Phew, I thought we had no formation lap there. I was going to say the lights were going off quite some time, and Lewis is disqualified already. I don't know how that is, but we do have Jake and Day Night joining, which is quite good to see, as the more the merrier, I think, with this race. Which means we've got 2 Mercedes right at the back of the grid, so Day Night is... He's also been knocking around for quite some time, as he does quite literally knock into, I think that was... Who was that? The Noob Begin, who was in P11, so that's not the best of starts, especially if you want warm tyres, because without the formation lap you can be left with quite cold tyres, can't you?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Just talking to someone. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the race here this evening.
Illicit Brownie's just leading us off here on a formation lap in the AlphaTauri from Ayrton Senna. From Evil Vo in a Williams, he had a really strong qualifying. Lewis KYFC, he's, I think, looking like it. He's just overtaken Evil Vo on a formation lap. He should possibly get that back. But Demoniac as well, who's recommended, obviously, by Dan to possibly be a contender for the win. He's up there as well. Bar in the Alfa Romeo, who's not really ever been in these sorts of positions regularly in F4. He's going to be right up there as well in P6. He's in the points playing positions. But O'Steven in only P8. I think that's going to shock a few. O'Steven definitely has the potential and consistency to make up a few positions. And Humanoid as well, who's the last one to end the formation lap. He's just on the brink of the top 10. But he's gonna also want to first of all finish the race as well, because he hasn't finished a race ever in FRL. But all the drivers just lining up on the grid. Hopefully we don't get a 5 red light glitch where it does pause, but 14 drivers await us for the head of the race. Hopefully we'll get as many as possible finishing. Illicit Brownie's going to line up just ahead of Ayrton Senna here. That is the view of Ayrton Senna. He's just going to be behind Brownie. And don't forget, Evolvo's there as well, so he could get a nice slipstream, as there is a little pause. So hopefully there's no issue. I think that could be... Ah, okay, there's a glitch, if you can see, with New Begin and Jake Gamer, which is a shame, but, you know, I think if it doesn't get sorted out in probably 30 seconds, it doesn't really look like we're going to be getting underway here, as you can see with Uma or Jake Gamer's there and New Begin's there, so I think I'm just going to tell the guys in the Discord to sadly leave the session. I'll leave myself, and Dan, you can leave. Hopefully you've got the FRL settings saved.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can host a new game, and we'll just join that.
Sweet.
Shame that, but at least we'll have everyone still there for the new start. As I think everyone's just a bit confused, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame to obviously have a lobby restart, but at least we still get the 14 drivers hopefully joining, so yeah, it should be still a good race. Obviously the lineup for qualifying will be saved, so that will be still the same with Ayrton Senna, I think it was in P2, Brownie in P1. Just looking here, Volvo was in P3, Lewis in P4, Demoniac in P5, Bar in P6, Tides in P7, Stephen in P8, Lewis in P9, Umanoid in P10, the New Begin, who obviously had that glitch of no fault of his own, in P11, Andy in 12th in the Red Bull, Jake Gamer, who also had that glitch sadly, in P13, and in P14 the Day Night. So
will it be custom grid?
Yeah, certainly will. And obviously no qualifying, as we have completed that, and I will just say in the comment section we are restarting, so a restart is happening.
Formation lap will be off yet?
Yep.
I've just gone through and I've just made sure that everything is right, and there has been a couple of things that have been a bit iffy on this one, so I do apologise about this.
Yeah, I think
sorted.
Actually, probably put a formation lap on. I think that's fair for the drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bar has. Bar Dan is just setting up the lobby, so we're in no rush on this, guys. Yeah. We started actually fairly early, I think, compared to last time, so we're off on the right step.
Right.
As I'll just say in the Discord, obviously we are having a restart, but it'll be interesting in terms of the restart, obviously, when we all line up on a grid, to see where everyone will be. Illicit Brownie is on pole, so that will be quite interesting to see whether he can get his first win, but we will be restarting, and invites will be sent out soon. But it will be interesting to see where everyone stands in terms of the race start. Hopefully we don't get too many crashes, but we will have the formation lap enabled, obviously, to allow the drivers to warm up their tyres.
I've invited the players that I had on my list, so if not, some invites out yourself if that's alright.
As long as I can join a session, which has worked. Okay, so anyone who hasn't got an invite, just say, and as hopefully everyone's tuning into the stream, and all the drivers. As have you? Well, yeah, you can't do the custom grid just yet. We've got 7 drivers at the moment. Okay, so Lewis needs an invite, and I think that is the New Begin. As we're just sending out invites. As we got 9 drivers, so everyone's starting to join slowly but surely. We did have 14, so hopefully we get the same amount joining. As we, yep. I think Day Night as well, he's another one who I will invite. He's obviously joined late on. As just finding him on my friends list.
Because obviously I've never done them before, so I very rarely am host, but I do host lobbies.
So you hit custom grid, and then it should show all the drivers in an order.
Right.
If you're there. We're just going to wait for a few more to join. We have got 10 at the moment, so just waiting for 4 more. Day Night has joined, so that's good. So I think Jake Gamer as well, he's one I remember who needs to join. Oh, and just looking through. As Evolvo's just joining in at the moment. So any of the guys who don't have an invite, just say. As just looking, we've got 12 guys at the moment. The new begin, he's readied up. So Evolvo, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Still waiting for, I think it's Jake Gamer and Illicit Brownie. If I'm no, Illicit Brownie's here.
Andy, I think we're waiting for.
Oh, Andy's joined as well. So Jake Gamer, the new begins here. Humanoid's here. Lewis is here. Tide's Power might not. No, Tide's Power is there. Bar is there. Oh, Stephen is there. And Lewis KYFC, he's also there. I'm a bit confused.
Demoniac's here.
Demoniac, that's it. Okay, so I'll invite Demoniac and hopefully Jake Gamer joins. Just getting his PSN. As is. Okay, so we should be underway soon. Hopefully Jake Gamer joins naturally. And just inviting Demoniac. So yeah. Okay. Safety invite, I guess. And hopefully Jake joins. I know Lewis is obviously his brother, so hopefully in the comments Jake's joining now, so that's good. Who's nil 55 NEJ? I'm not sure whether I recognise him.
Well, they've already done.
Okay. You can kick nil.
Sweet.
And can you change the lobby settings just so the timer doesn't go off?
Yeah. Lobby option. Is it session start time?
Just change something like the formation lap to 1 and then off, and then it should refresh the start time. Yeah, solid. Okay, that's all good. We're just waiting for Jake, guys. So once Jake joins, I think we should be ready to go. As Demoniac has joined, and hopefully Jake joins soon. Just looking in the comments, Jake's game's taking a while to load, so I mean, it's better to have 14, the full grid. As I think actually you can start doing a custom grid as well with Illicit Brownie on pole.
Yeah, so I just got to get back over that.
Yeah, no rush. Guys, do not ready up just yet. We will just be waiting for Jake and doing a custom grid.
Yeah,
so.
right.
So it's Illicit Brownie on pole, followed by Ayrton Senna. Volvo, he's in third in a Williams.
Who was P2?
Ayrton Senna.
Yeah.
Followed by Volvo.
Followed by Volvo. Where was he? Volvo's P3. Yeah.
Lewis in fourth.
Yeah.
And in fifth is Demoniac.
Where the hell is he? Oh, he's there. Yeah.
And in sixth is Bar.
Yeah.
And in seventh is Tires Power.
Yeah.
Followed by O'Steven, followed by Lewis.
Yeah.
Humanoid, the noob, Begin.
Humanoid, where's he? Oh, there he is. So, Humanoid's P10, yeah?
Yep, Noob Begin in 11th. Andy in 12th.
Yeah.
And then you can leave the day and night just there, but we will wait just for Jake to join. I think we'll give it... As Lissa Brownie says, why is this so tense? I'm sorry, I think we're leaving it at a cliffhanger at the moment, and... It'll be interesting. Hopefully he joins soon. Okay, Lewis just says Jake's just joining. But in terms of the restart, Dan, do you think anyone's... as he's finally in. So you can go back to the custom grid and then we will get underway.
Sweet.
As everyone... As Jake is last. Jake is last, I think, isn't he?
I am to believe.
Let me see. Where was Jake? Oh, Jake is 13th, so quickly just change that.
Yeah.
Okay, and everyone can ready up, so we'll finally get this underway. Or I see, not great, it's your first commentary, but nothing you can do naturally, but... As a few guys have changed cars, so this might take some getting used to, but everyone can ready up, and we should be able to get underway in 23 seconds, so... Sorry to, obviously, for the guys who are watching about the little delay, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. Formation lap should be on, and we'll just be about 3 minutes underway until we head off for the race start, and I'm sure the drivers, with how tense it is, they'll be looking forward to this quite a lot, won't they?
Yeah, I reckon there's going to be some drivers out there that's going to be really confident going into it and going to do really well, and there's probably going to be drivers in this race that are going to be looking at it thinking, they're rapid, I'm not going to do any good, and they're going to surprise not only me, but you and everybody that's watching.
And I think the surprise effect will probably be quite interesting to see just who comes out on top here, because I don't think anyone's out of the question, even Jake Gamer. We don't know how fast he is, because obviously I don't think he's ever been in an FRL race, like a few of these guys. Andy as well, he didn't set a lap in quali, so we don't know where his pace is at. So we'll be looking at a really interesting grid as we're already starting at 5. Already starting. Hopefully everything's normal and everyone has their setups. I'll just check the Discord just to make sure there's no issues. Okay, so now we're starting properly with 23 seconds, so yeah. I don't think there's any issues, which is good to see. So for now it looks like we're gonna have a nice stream from here on out, but do you think possibly being on pole won't necessarily get you the win, or would you put Illicit Brown, who's on pole, would you back him for the win?
I would probably say that it doesn't really matter where you finish, it's all about how you go into the race and how your mindset is on the race. And if you want to do well in the race, you have to have that mindset saying that you can do well, and everybody that is behind Illicit Brownie, they will look at that and think he might have got a pole position from qualifying, but that doesn't mean anything. We've got to get out there. We've got to try and gain as much time on him as possible. And the earlier we get that overtake in, then we're away, and we can then start to make a gap between myself and the car behind, and then they'll just be pushing themselves for the rest of the race. So it's going to be interesting, but I'd probably say, like I said, Steve and Bard, they are going to be the favourites, I reckon, in this race to get back up there and do well in the race, and I am really looking forward to seeing what they have to offer for us.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think these guys are a little bit too new to know the rule that obviously on a restart you do have to start on the same tyres, but it is pre-season, so I think obviously this won't be affected too much into next season. So it does mean, though, people like Demoniac, they're starting on softs with medium runners all around them. Do you think Demoniac there will absolutely cut through the field to probably get into the podium positions, or do you think that maybe is an issue for him because he's surrounded by such slow drivers? Do you think maybe that might cause an accident?
No, I honestly believe that doesn't matter what tyre compound they start on, it's all about, once again, it's all about your gameplay, how you go into the race. And Demoniac, with his tyre, with him starting on the soft compound tyres, I think that'll give him a bit extra push to get into the podium positions early, get himself away from the guy that will be sitting behind him, and if he can get up to P1 as early as possible, then that's his time to get away and push and try and get as far away from the drivers behind as possible, so then he can put himself in that mindset where he can say, this is it, this is now my race to lose.
And we have 5 red lights, and I think the drivers are revving up the engines now. We've got a shocking camera angle. It's quite a long run down into turn 1, but Illicit Brownie, he's underway. Hopefully we have no crashes. The dust pours ahead. Oh, there's 2 drivers off, and all bars already out. Illicit Brownie's roundly outside of Ayrton Senna. There is no safety car, so we'll keep on running. Oh, and there's a massive crash already. A Williams goes spearing off, but it is Ayrton Senna on the mediums who takes the lead here. As Illicit Brownie's looking up the inside there, very, very close. As Demoniac, as we said, he's up into P3, isn't he, Dan?
Yeah, Demoniac, like you just, like we said at the start of the race, he was starting on soft compound tyres, will give him that extra push to go and get up into the podium positions as early as possible.
And Ayrton Senna's off.
Out.
Oh, I mean, they're dropping like flies, aren't they? Just as Illicit Brownie loses it as well, when Illicit Brownie could be out here. And he's gone right up into the wall there. Demoniac, as we were just saying there, he's taken the lead. So, and this is what we mean about Stephen. His consistency to stay out of trouble means he's already into third. And look at Lewis KYFC. He's on the mediums and he's somehow managed to get up into P2. Don't think he's had to do much. And the day night, all the way from I think P14, he's got up to P5 as well. So the Ferraris are absolutely storming through the field.
Yeah, the Ferraris, they've got a great game set, great gate.
That's right. Oh no,
mindset.
The new begin smashes. I'm not what you'd love to see, but as I think there's a fight and someone's gone off. Yeah, and Lewis has gone off.
Stephen has pushed into P2 now, which he is gaining some time, and Demoniac is getting away. And like we said, if Demoniac can get to the front of the grid as early as possible, get away from the field, he's away, and then he can start looking and saying that this is my race to lose. And he is doing exactly what we said. And like I said, he will be one of the favourites to win this race. But Stephen is in P2. He is trying to push himself now. And we'll see what happens later on in the race.
Yeah, just to put into perspective, the gap between Demoniac and Evolvo. Demoniac just coming through turn 12 here quite nicely in the AlphaTauri. Evolvo, he's in the pits, so on the hards as well, so he's going to be looking to go really deep into this race. So a lot of these drivers, they're going to have to be careful if they want to have a good ego coming into the next race, the first race of pre-season. They can't really be getting lapped, as Demoniac obviously sets fast out with 20.1, which is pretty strong, almost better than some of the guys in qualifying. But Stephen, 2.4 seconds away, that gap's slowly coming down. He's just going to be looking at a good race pace here, Stephen, to bring home his first FRL win unofficially.
Yeah, Stephen, once again, he is now starting to prove to himself that he deserves to be up there. And when you said he had consistency to stay out of trouble, get on the track, get his head down and get driving. Stephen is proving that to us right now, that he does have the potential to do well here in FRL. And I can see him being up there in the Drivers' Championship next season.
Yeah, and I think this is a really odd one here. As Jake came, he went straight into the pit lane, I think, entry there, and Tyres Power just had to dodge him, which was pretty good reflexes. But we don't usually see Day Knight putting on the pressure on another driver, but he is closing in on the FRL Lewis here. He usually does crash out fairly early, but he's making nice inroads into the top 3 here. I do feel as though this is slightly unanticipated with already, I think it's 60 NS in 2 laps as Day Knight nearly loses it and just keeps it alive here. As I think an issue around Spain is the tyre temps do get a bit out of hand, so especially in a dirty air of another driver, they're going to have to be careful, aren't they, to not spin. As someone who has spun, I think is Evilvo, and he has been lapped, but he hasn't got any damage.
Yeah, Evilvo, he can get back into the race. I think it's just all about warming up his tyres at this point, and once he warms those tyres up, he'll be away. And I do not see why he cannot get back into the race. He's already gaining some time on the cars in front. Obviously, it was not going to be quite enough yet. He needs to keep pushing his tyres, and I don't see why he can't get back into the race and push for the top 5 finish here.
Yeah, and it's looking really interesting here with Andy as well. He's a new guy. I think he's managed to, since coming out of the pits, keep his nose clean, as it doesn't seem as though he's got any wing damage, but he did get caught up in that massive melee into turn 1. I think Bar was the man who went off, I think, before he even reached turn 1, so that's not going to be great for people like Evil Zuka who are cheering him on. As I think Lewis is spun. No, it's Day Knight. Day Knight spun, and he has got a little bit of left front wing damage here. And I think if it's maybe a glitch, it's understandable, but I would turn off your overtake through the corners, that's for sure, as it is probably gonna cause you to spin. But as you say, he's spinning, but his teammate on the other hand, Stephen, he's running out up front in second. He's actually starting to close in on Demoniac. The gap was about 2.9 at its max. So Stephen here, I think he's going to try and slowly close in on Demoniac and try and force him into an error. But do you think Demoniac has the consistency to stick it out up front and absorb all that pressure as Day Knight puts?
Yeah, I do think that Demoniac, he is still trying to get the feel of the track, but at the same time, he's already gone out. He's already got up front, like we said he would need to.
Lewis is out.
And I think if he can get more of a gap between him and O'Stephen, he'll be confident to go into the pits, then come out of the pits still in front. But that gap, like you said, O'Stephen is closing that gap on Demoniac, which will help O'Stephen get back right into the race. And I am really looking forward to seeing how this ends, because I think once Demoniac pits, O'Stephen will come flying past, get up into the P1 position, and he'll be away. And from that moment on, I can't see anybody catching O'Stephen.
Well, that's going to be very interesting, because Demoniac is really kind of leaking time to O'Stephen here. He's just hovering under 2 seconds. Andy just navigates his way past Lewis, and Lewis, it is a nasty corner, turn 9, I can tell you that. And I think all the drivers who have driven around Catalonia know that for sure. On exit, I think Lewis just got caught on the exit curb and spears all the way right into the wall. Obviously, not the way he would like to end things either with his teammate in the Alpine. But Evilvo, as you said, working his way slowly into the top 5. I hope there's not too many more retirements, because we do want to see some finishers, as Evilvo just teases us there with almost spinning off. But yeah, the closest battle at the moment is O'Stephen and Demoniac. Just coming around a chicane, O'Stephen, you can see here, driving pretty I guess, within his bounds, but he's gained a bit of time here. He's got a little bit more battery than Demoniac. And another battle, actually, to look out for is the Day Knight. Another Ferrari closing in on the Williams this time for tyres power. Day Knight going quite well. He has still got it in overtaker. That could be a glitch as he turns it off, which he probably should. Otherwise, he will spin. As he's just trying to keep it clean, but he's got some really good pace, doesn't he? Some of the Ferraris.
Yeah, I mean, the Day Knight, he is going to want to get back up there, and I think if he pushes himself, he'll get right back up there in no time, because he is an extremely good driver.
And
especially
actually,
on the hard, medium. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No worries.
Especially on the mediums, he has more time to get away from Evilvo, because Evilvo has already been lapped by some of the drivers here, so it's going to be very hard for him to get back into the race now. But I think once people start to pit, he'll start to get the feel of the track and the tyres, and he'll be pushing himself to try and get right back up there on the hards, because he'll be able to go the longest in this race now, knowing that he's on the hards. People are going to pit. It'll be his time to get back up there.
I've just seen something pop up on my screen and on stream.
Stephen's gone into pits.
So Stephen's pitted a little bit early as he's very cautious. Hopefully my internet holds up with the broadcasting, otherwise we will have to redo it, just like F3, where I think F3 has to do it 3 times, but hopefully that won't be an issue and we can focus on the drivers. But where's Stephen going to file out? It does look like it's going to be P3 way ahead of P4, and it's a bit of a fight here for P4, isn't there? Because Day Knight, he's only, I think it's just under 6 seconds of P4, and Day Knight sitting in P6, so we could have a 3-way scrap here with Andy, Tyres Power and Day Knight all for 4th position, so that's one to look out for. But Stephen, he's going to close Lewis right down here, but Lewis is on the medium, so I wouldn't count Lewis out at all.
No, Lewis, he is starting to prove why he is up there at this point. Obviously, he's got quite a bit to go before he will overtake Demoniac, but so I am to believe from looking at the tyre compounds, it looks like Demoniac is the only one that hasn't pitted. So he is going to have to go into pits at some point, which will probably at this point cost him his position, but he can always, once he comes out of pits, he can always just push himself and get himself back into the race. And like we just said, he has just gone into pits. He will probably lose his position from this moment on if Lewis picks up the pace a bit, which he has done, and he will go past him shortly. But he is obviously Demoniac. He can get back out of pits and he can get back up in from where he did start, where he did end up from the start of the race. As you can see,
yeah, and you can just see Demoniac exiting there. And this is going to be close with OC. When OC's played the undercut, we'll see what the gap is. It's 2.9. Oh, sorry, 2.9 now. 2.765. I don't think OC's gained much time from the 1-lap undercut there in a Ferrari. Oh no, it's 2.1. So I think, yeah, I mean, generally not much has changed, but they're going to come up to Lewis here, who's on old mediums, and he's now the only one who hasn't pitted. Obviously on mediums, he was only one of few to start on the mediums, and they're going to catch up to Lewis, and this could be critical for the outcome of the race, because these guys of Demoniac and Osim look pretty level, don't they?
Yeah, Demoniac is actually pushing himself to try and get back up there, but Stephen is closing that gap there on Demoniac, so there is a bit of a 3-way battle going on here for the top spot. But as you can see there, Demoniac is closing in on Lewis. Stephen keeps closing in on Demoniac, so they are going to be battling it out here in a 3-way battle for the top spot. But at this moment in time, I can see it being these Lewis, Demoniac and Stephen that will all be getting the podium today.
Oh no, Lewis is out. I'm just going on board with him there, and you're going to see with Stephen, he's just lost it on the last corner, and it's a big shame there. I think.
And I take back what I just said.
Oh, it's a big shame for Lewis. He was running for a podium there at minimum, and this means Andy's within 3rd now, so this might give more incentive for Tyres Power, because Tyres Power is now chasing 3rd, not 4th. This could be possibly his first, I think maybe his first podium in F4. I'll check the results, but Stephen, 2.6 away from Demoniac. It's the gap's starting to rise a bit, and don't you think it's going to rise later on, especially considering that Demoniac has the fresher tyres as Andy gets a penalty?
Yeah, yeah. This is gonna get very interesting within lap 15 to 20. That's when things are going to start to get interesting, I think. But I tell you what, I do feel really sorry for Lewis because he is a really good driver, and he did deserve to get podium there, but unfortunately these things happen and it just wasn't meant to be for him today. But obviously when the season starts, he'll go out there with a bang and he'll do his best, and I'm sure he'll be up there again for the first race of the season.
Yeah, and just looking actually from the last race, all the guys who were in the podium positions, they are not actually in this race. So whoever gets a podium as Demoniac, that's fastest lap of a 20. Oh, O'Stephen responds. So I think these two
Very good lap.
They're both very good laps indeed. They're just showing where the pace is. I think I should probably go fastest lap just to see where everyone's lapping around. And actually everyone's pretty close. With even Evolvo on a set of hards, his best lap is a 21.1. And out of everyone, I think someone who's to look out for is the Day Knight with a 120.2. So all the top 5, they're all their fastest laps are within 3/10 of each other. So do you think maybe if we see a few mistakes creeping in from the top 2, a few spins, possibly Andy and Ty's Power, and maybe even Day Knight could capitalise on that?
Yeah, I think it's always the littlest mistakes that can cost you a race. So they've now got to try and keep their composure, keep calm, get around these corners, push themselves on the straights, and they won't have any problems. But one little mistake, one little spin or one little flicker of the car, and Andy and Ty's Power will capitalise, like you said, capitalise, like you said, and it will cost them their position. But by looking at it, Andy is pushing himself, and he is looking for that P2, and Demoniac has set the fastest lap with a 119.8, which is another very good lap. And Ty's Power has spun because he has moved down a place, and that is unfortunate because he was running there like once again for podium, and Andy's pitted again, which will cost him his position.
Yeah, this could spice it up though, because I think Ty's Power is gonna, yes, he's definitely gonna overtake him quite easily, and it makes a Ferrari 2-3. So I don't know whether this will feel Day Knight at all. I mean, he is quite far behind, but he's gonna really have to send it to be able to get anywhere near O'Stephen towards the back end of the race. But with if O'Stephen picks up damage, that could all suddenly change. So Day Knight is just going to have to play the patience game and slowly, hopefully, going to hope for the top 2 to crumble. But Demoniac, for his debut in F4, he's looking really, really strong, isn't he?
He is, and I like how he deals with the corners. And for somebody that's up front, like in P1, he's doing extremely well to keep calm, because I know some people, when they're in P1, they start to panic, the mistake starts to creep in, but he is keeping himself calm and composed here, and I can see him going on to win this race at this point.
Yeah, and Ty's Power's lost it at turn 9 exit. I think it's going to be on the right side, and that's another victim. Turn 9 is absolutely nasty on any game, and once again it just shows the Williams driver is out, and his teammate just going to come round. Oh, sorry, this is way behind, but it does mean Volvo will inherit P5 if he can just, I think, unlap himself possibly and get past Ty's Power. And it does mean, I think Andy might have been P4 already, so it's just going to make the job for Andy and Day Knight to get a podium a little bit easier, as still the closest battle at the moment is O'Stephen and Demoniac, but that gap's starting to rise here, so O'Stephen was probably going to be thinking to himself, won't he, about how he's going to get this gap to really, really come down to give him a chance to take the win.
Yeah, I think what O'Stephen's got to look at now is he's just got to wait for that smallest mistake from Demoniac, and then O'Stephen capitalises, gets into P1, and then it's his for the taking at that point. But I think some of them are still on, I think some of them are on 2 stoppers, some of them are on 1 stoppers. Andy's gone to the hard compound tyres, which I think he's now trying to see it out for the rest of the race. So if he's trying to see it out for the rest of the race, he's now got to wait for Demoniac, sorry, not Demoniac, O'Stephen, the Day Knight, He's got to wait for them now to make their second pit stop, so then he can capitalise on it, get up into the podium position, and then he's away. And I think that's exactly what Andy's trying to do. He's trying to see himself out for the rest of the race now, and he is going to be looking for that podium finish. And I also think that the hard compound tyres are very good on this track on this track as well, especially around certain corners. I do apologise, I just can't speak for some reason.
No, it's all good. But day night there, if you look at the positions gained, just going on board with the Ferrari driver, he's gained 11 positions, and I think he's starting to close down O'Stevens. So I think day night could be favourite here to maybe be the next person to make an overtake. Looking at the lap times, he's been lapping around the mid-20s, and his last lap was a bit off.
3-second penalty.
As I have jinxed that awfully, as he's really, I think, pushing track limits just to catch up to O'Steven. But Andy's got a penalty as well, and Evilvo, who has spun, he also has a penalty. And I'm not sure whether that's affected O'Steven. I think O'Steven might have slowed down there just in case to not hit him. But yeah, it does seem as though all the gaps are slightly too big for anyone to maybe to do an undercut. But if we look at the tyres, it does seem as though everyone's still got one more stop to make, don't they? Yeah,
I mean, the day night O'Steven, Demoniac, as the front three, they've got to look at it like they're around 50 seconds ahead of Evilvo, and that is going to be very hard for him to catch them at this point. But Andy, if those three pit all at the same time, I doubt that would happen. But if they all decided to pit at the same time, that's then Andy's chance to capitalise, get himself up the field, get himself into the P1 position, and then if these hards will see it out for the rest of the race, Andy will go on.
Oh no! Oh god! One Williams is victim to turn 9, and another one is victim to turn 9. I swear, Spain turn 9 is one of the worst corners on a game for a beginner, and I think with these guys obviously probably not putting in loads of practice given it is pre-season, and I imagine them probably saving it all for Bahrain for the first race of the season. We are seeing a lot of crashes, and I think it's now a race of attrition, isn't it? Because if Andy can just stay in a race, that's already P4. And day night, all he has to do is not lose 13 seconds to Andy, and he's secured a double Ferrari podium.
I am really looking forward to seeing how the end of this race pans out, because like we've said before, O'Steven, the day night, and Demoniac, they've all got one pit stop left to make. And then if you look at the times here, Andy's only 13 seconds behind, day night's 22 seconds, O'Steven's 4 seconds. If those guys if those three pit, Andy capitalises, he's going to then be further up. So he's then going to be wanting to push to win this race. And Andy, if he puts his mind to it, he's very good, and he will manage. I don't see why he can't go on to be trying to push to win this race.
Yeah, and I just thought that was Andy for a second, given how many times we have jinxed him. But it's day night. Day night, going on board with him, he really does push track limits, and I guess that is why the gap to O'Steven has gone down by about 3 seconds the last dozen laps or so. But Andy, he's the only one who doesn't need to stop again, and I think that does mean he will go get out ahead of the day night. I'm not sure whether Andy will challenge for the top two, given how consistent the top two have been, but O'Steven, the gap is just swaying from 4 seconds to 3.9. I think it does seem as though Demoniac has got this all under control, but a penalty could really spice this up. I was just looking at F3 here. F3 there, obviously with the whole delay, they're quite ahead of us. Casti, he's fighting for his second win, I think. Oh, sorry. Second podium for F3. There's a massive... Oh, sorry, that's a fight for second place with Charlie, so... A lot of guys getting their elbows out, but they've only got 10 finishes as well, so I think that just shows how Spain is a very tough track, isn't it, to keep it away from the walls.
Yes, like you just said, Spain, certain turns are alright, you can pull the certain turns off perfectly, but then you get like turn 9, let's take turn 9 for example, most people are spinning out or crashing out on turn 9, when people come up to turn 9, they've got to think of how their game plan is going to go about that. And at that point, even if it means them losing 0.3 of a second, that's where they've got to think, would I rather take 0.3 of a second, or would I prefer to crash out of the race? So maybe going around turn 9 a little bit slower would help them out here to try and push. And I think that if they can hold out on turn 9, they'll then start to become thinking, yeah, we've got this, we've got turn 9 covered, that's what we've got to do, and they will be perfectly fine heading into turn 9. Like these 4 that are remaining, they've managed to master turn 9, but there's still bound to be someone that could make a mistake. So I'm not going to jinx anything here. But I think it'll be these 4 that will finish the race.
I think we might have forgot, but it's over halfway. So Demoniac is just really controlling this. Yeah, it's gone flying past, obviously, with a little delay. But 4 drivers left. Obviously had 5 for Bahrain, but I think it's fair to say Spain, as we said. I'm not sure how many drivers we had crash at turn 9. I think Lewis, Ty's Power and Evil, though I know for sure, smashed into the wall there. I think Jake and Noob hit the pit lane exit. The wall there. Bar receipts went off just before turn 1 even started. I think Humanoid was the driver who went sideways through turn 3, who sadly couldn't complete a lap. But O'Stevens pitting, I think you were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say O'Stevens just pitted, which means the Day 9 Andy, this is their time to look at it and say, now he's pitted, we can capitalise on that. And I think that's exactly what they're planning to do. Demoniac, yeah, look, if you look at the Day 9, he might not be able to overtake him, but he is now going to gain some time on O'Steven, which is going to put him under a bit on. Never mind, the Day 9 has pitted, which means now Andy's time has come where he can now push for the podium position, which now is Andy's time to try and hold out that podium position, and he has gained some time on O'Steven here, which means he now has to try and push. He's only 14 seconds behind him there, so now he has to try and push and put O'Steven under a lot of pressure here. And O'Steven has gone onto the medium compound tyres again, which means he is going to be a lot faster than Andy. But one mistake on those tyres, and Andy will go up to P2.
I think O'Steven's gone really aggressive here for the undercut over Demoniac. It's whether Demoniac's going to respond any AlphaTauri. He is going to pit, so Demoniac covers that off. I think that is the safest bet from number 78, as O'Steven's probably going to be really annoyed about that, because he was gaining a few tenths this lap and he possibly could have got it pulled off. As you can see there, he's gaining a lot in this last sector, a few tenths here and there, but Demoniac's just going to cover it off, and I don't think he hasn't sped in a pit lane. He won't obviously cross the white line or anything. Does seem to be quite ahead of O'Steven. The gap is going to obviously come crashing down to, it looks like,
back on.
It's 5.3 seconds. So Demoniac has actually gained time once again. So O'Steven must be kicking himself with these undercuts, because Demoniac just seems to be absorbing them, doesn't he?
Yeah. At this point now, I think it is Demoniac's race to lose. If I'm honest with you, he has done extremely well, and O'Stevens has done well. So I think O'Steven and Demoniac are now going to be battling it out for the last 13 laps to try and push for that win. And I think, I don't want to jinx anything, because I probably will after I've said this, but I think it is now Demoniac's race because he is on fresher tyres. So this is anybody's race, but I think it is going to I think Demoniac is just going to wedge the win here.
Yeah, but these guys, they're very level on pace. In fact, look at Andy. His fastest lap is actually 2 tenths faster than O'Stevens, and matching Demoniac. So it's a bit painful for Andy, isn't it? If he could have been there near O'Steven and Demoniac at the very start and hadn't had that pit stop, I think he would have been fighting for the lead. As O'Steven, he sets fastest lap, and that's 2 tenths faster than Demoniac. So I think O'Steven, as we look at the lead,
once again.
Yeah, he's really, I think, going to send this, I'm sure. But he has used, I think, a lot of his ERS. He was around 40%, maybe even 50%, when the last time we looked. So O'Stephen has nothing to lose, does he? With a 21-second buffer, as his teammate does have something to lose. And he has spun, but O'Stephen, he can afford to make a spin, can't he? As long as he doesn't do it a few too many times.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be careful on how bad he spins, where he spins, because if it's a big spin, he has to make sure that he can get back on track quick enough to try and hold his position. One mistake and it's race over for him.
Yeah, just look at Andy with his throttle and brake trace. He seems very controlled. I think that's probably where he's making up a lot of his time on throttle. He's very calculated with it, which is quite interesting to see. Whereas, look at O'Stephen, he's a bit more aggressive, I think, on the throttle. I mean, that could be traction control, obviously, but interesting to see how all the drivers fare. I mean, O'Stephen come through the chicane. That's the kind of line you want to be taking. As Demoniac does an 18.9. That's an absolutely rapid time.
With the fastest lap.
Yeah. He might think about getting it. If he can pull out a pit stop ahead of O'Stephen, he might have enough. Well, he might even actually, if he pulls out maybe a 10-second gap, box for the softs for the last laps. But I think that'd be a bit cocky and probably might be a bit too risky. But Demoniac, as we say, he's done an 18.9. Andy did a 19.8, so that's about a second off Demoniac. And O'Stephen, he is 5/10 off Demoniac. So Demoniac, he's having a really good debut here in F4. I don't think he's just about F3 pace, and especially when you consider F3 is full. So I definitely think both of us and the viewers who watch F4 regularly will probably be seeing a lot more of him throughout next season.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Demoniac has in offer for next season. Sorry to interrupt you if you're going to say anything there.
No, it's fine. I mean, with 11 laps, I think you're going to have to look for things to say. Looking on the mini-map, I mean, the closest guys obviously are O'Stephen and Demoniac. I think the most likely probably to make a mistake would be the Day Knight, from how well I know him, and a few others. He hasn't raced in quite a while, so he's making a long-awaited return in the Ferraris. He gets so wiggly there on the exit of turn 9. I think that just shows when you're riding on the exit of turn 9, you have to be very straight with it, and I think if you offset your car, you can just go spearing off into the wall, and it's pretty much race over once you, especially at the speed of turn 9, you can't really do much about it, can you?
No, I mean, going into turn 9, like I said earlier on in the race, heading into turn 9, and that will be a 3-second penalty. Like I said earlier on in the race, going into turn 9, you have to think about how you're going to go into it and how you're going to come out of it. I'd probably say the trick to going into turn 9 is you go in slowly, and obviously not too slow, but you go into turn 9 slowly, and then you come out of it, building up your pace bit by bit, and then when you know that your car isn't going to go AWOL, just go straight down and get away from turn 9, and then when it comes again, do the exact same thing, because going into turn 9, with some of the pace that these lads are going in there too, is going to be very risky, and if they keep going in it like this, I feel like there will be another crash. But at this moment in time, these four are looking to finish the race, and I think that's exactly how it will finish. And I think the positions everybody's in now, I feel like that is how it's going to finish tonight.
Yeah, I think not many people would be really betting against you, as it does seem. So there's pretty big gaps between everyone else. But going on board with OC, just through turn 3 here, he's just going to do a little lift off and then straighten it up for turn 4. Just going on board with him. He doesn't like to use much of this exit curve on entry, so could have probably gained a few more tenths there. Into turn 5 here, you just pick your braking point, try and keep tight to the apex. Floor it on exit. He's using a bit of ERS here, so I guess he's going to try and push for maybe a PB. Through the chicane of 7 and 8, try not to spin, it's very easy to do. And then obviously the dreaded turn 9, you have to take a lot of curb on none until O'Stephen, as you said, he's just a little bit below the spinning limit, so he's just playing it safe at the moment, braking at to turn the 100 meter board, keeping it hooked up nicely. He doesn't, he does nab a little bit of the curb of turn, I think that's 11. And through turn 12, nice sweeping long right-hander. Through 13, just nab that curb. And then with this, you do not want to touch the yellow sausage curves. You only want to touch the red and white, and that's why you don't want to touch the yellow sausage curves. They just spit you out of the penultimate corner. But up to the line, O'Stephen 6 tenths off his best lap, and I think if we went on board with Demoniac, he probably maybe would have had a bit of a cleaner last sector.
Yeah, if I'm honest, there's not really a lot else to say about that. With it only down to 4 drivers, once again, there's not really a lot to commentate on, but from what I've been watching, they are doing extremely well, and I know that in some other races, when it gets to the final, if you start off with like 14, 15 people, you get down to the final 4, people would just deliberately crash out when it gets to the final 4 because they can't be bothered to race with the final 4. And I have respect for these lads. Going into this race, they was expecting to come out with a bigger battle than what's happened. But these 4 have done extremely well today, and all of them, if we could give podium to all of them, I would happily give podium to all 4 of these because they all deserve it. But obviously only 3 of them can get it, and I think with the top 3 as it is now, I think that is how it's going to stay unless we have any more crashes by the top 3. And I think the day-night has slacked off a bit, which that is another reason why I don't believe he will get podium finish now.
Yeah, I've just seen F3 pop up on my screen of the post-race interviews. We're only 7 laps behind, so obviously that delay was not very welcomed. I think that was because Lewis joined.
And he's going into
during
pits,
quali.
just so I'd let you know.
So I think that should be fastest lap. Do you think that'll be mediums or softs? Because I'd imagine softs should make it. He can probably do about 2 pit stops ahead of day-night, to be honest.
He needs to go for softs, which he is going for the soft compound tyres, which is now going to help him and push him through to the end of the race now.
Ooh, day-night.
That could be to go for the fastest lap.
Yeah, just going on board with day-night there on the hard tyres. Hard tyres around Spain. It is very, very risky. It's like driving with Bambi on ice. He was just getting a little bit too trigger happy on out of turn 10, I think, there. But as you said, Andy, he's on sauce, fresh sauce, so I imagine he would go for the fastest lap. As we look, it is an 18.9, so he's going to have to gain a full second on the AlphaTauri of Demoniac. But just looking at the gap from Ostim to Demoniac, I would say it's around 7 seconds. I don't think Demoniac's going to pit, is he, for a fastest lap to respond?
No, I don't think that Demoniac can actually afford to pit at this point, not with the position that he's in, because he knows that if he pits, it will just cost him the race, and he doesn't want that. He wants to try and get out there and make an impact and show everybody in the FRL what he is made of and what he's capable of doing out on track.
Yeah, to be honest, I think Demoniac, with some of the, we've got a full 27 drivers in F3, including all the reserves, I think some of them would probably have their work cut out to beat him. He's, I mean, an 89 in the race of Spain, it's very respectable for F3, so he could be looking at F3 maybe next season if he can just build on his performances. But Andy there, he set a purple middle sector and last sector, so just coming through turn 1 here, he's going to try and go for the fastest lap in a Red Bull. You'd imagine he'd get it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd probably say that the Red Bull car is definitely one of the favourites to do well on a track like this, and going for the fastest lap now on the soft compound tyres, that is what he's doing this for now at this point, and I don't see why he can't get the fastest lap, because I think if I saw that correctly, he did just get purple sector 1, so I am to believe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Andy does throughout this whole lap. At the moment he is in P3, and with day night in P4 he doesn't have any pressure at all on him for the podium. Obviously in his debut race as well, it's going to be nice to bring a podium home and hopefully an extra point with fastest lap. Just coming through turn 12 here, he's going to hook it up. He's getting on a bit of too many of the curbs in some places. Riding through turn 14 and the chicane. The penultimate corner as he loses it a little bit. I think this is going to be his fastest lap, probably abandoned as he doesn't have much ERS either, but he's going to try and go for it, and it is still fastest lap by 7 tenths. What a lap from Andy.
And that was an extremely good lap there from Andy, and he got the fastest lap. That was exactly what he set out to do when he went on to the softs, and he got exactly what he wanted to do, and that once again was a very, very good lap from Andy.
Yeah, we're seeing the times, I think, start to come down, maybe because of fuel. Just looking at Demoniac, so I hope I'm not wrong here, and he has... Uh, his times actually have got slightly faster, so possibly Demoniac maybe is going to go for a fastest lap attempt. He does like to go quite far on the right here, down the main straight, so possibly just shortening the track distance. O'Stephen likes to keep quite a tight line, so the front two do have slightly different driving styles. I mean, throughout the corners, O'Stephen, just looking at turn 1, he does just nab the curb there, ignores turn 2. Demoniac, he does use... No, he doesn't use the curb of turn 3 either, or sorry, for the entry of turn 4, so... These two drivers, they're very slightly, subtly different, aren't they, Dan?
Yeah, yeah, this is making a very interesting end to the race, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But yeah, honestly, there's not really a lot more I can really say about this now, because the time gap between the drivers has just expanded and there's not really many battles going on. I think the only battle really going on is at the front there between O'Stephen and Demoniac, because O'Stephen is actually getting a lot of time. Day Night is out of the race, which means Demoniac and O'Stephen and Andy will all be getting podium here this evening.
Yeah, and that's as long as they don't crash, and I hope you haven't jinxed it. I think Day Night might have retired there. It looked a little bit odd with the car moving still. But we'll see here whether he did retire.
Looks like he pulled over on the side of the track.
I mean, with 4 laps left, I guess he maybe got a little bit cocky and thought it was in a bag. I'm sure next season, with all the points available up for grabs, I don't think he would do that, I'd hope. But Dan, just passing over a question in terms of, out of the guys who didn't finish, who's most like to have seen finish the race in terms of where they'd be among O'Stephen and Demoniac? Who would you say would be the most competitive to fight for that podium of the last 3 guys we have? Who DNF'd?
Well, I'd probably say that Lewis, Lewis KYFC, he was up there right at the start of the race, and once again, it was smallest mistake that cost him the race. But I think he has the potential to do well, and if he was still in the race, I think he would be right up there in the top 3, battling for first and second here.
And Andy, I think just on the last lap, he did improve his fast lap to an 18.1. I don't see Demoniac really being able to beat that. Looking at the times, I think O'Stephen, since the pit stops, actually gained about 3/10 on Demoniac. Not a lot of time O'Stephen's gained, but I think that shows the raw consistency from O'Stephen. And I think all drivers should be proud of themselves. Andy's pulled back a pretty horrendous race after pitting lap 1. I don't think that was probably to any fault of his own. Demoniac, he's been totally in control from 5th as well, so he didn't even take pole. I think his teammate Illicit Brownie was on pole, and he crashed out. I think he spun out at turn 9 as well, so the AlphaTauris, I think, will be looking quite good into the new season. Obviously, these aren't the set teams, but just another question for you, Dan. Do you think possibly any of the teammates here, would you think they could maybe win a Constructors? Possibly like Lewis and I think it would be Jake Gamer, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, those two, they would have the capability of winning the Constructors Championship. Sorry, mate, you'll just have to bear with it.
No, that's fine. So we lose Dan, but I mean, that is the role of a commentator, you know. He's very committed, which you have to respect, as Lewis does. What laps did he do? But we've got about 3 laps, or 2 laps as I say that. Demoniac's just going to lead us on to lap 32. O'Stephen only 6.3 behind, so he started to lose, as I think Demoniac's maybe pushing for a fastest lap. But it'll be very interesting to see into next season how all these drivers get on. I know Evilvo and Tyres Power, they're also pretty fast drivers. They probably could have been fighting with Andy. I think they were around that sort of area if they didn't have all the spins and crashes, obviously. Illicit Brownie, he had really good qualifying pace. He could be right up there for the new season as Andy. I think it's going to box again for a new fastest lap, so he's just consolidating what he already has. Ayrton Senna as well, he showed some good pace to get into seconds first of all, but then obviously it all came unstuck within the first few laps. A lot of the drivers will probably be quite excited to see whether they can, in the new season, get a podium or get a few points. So definitely stick around for the new season, obviously starting in 2 weeks. So not next Monday, but the Monday after. As next Monday, the teammates should be released on FRL Live at around this time. But Demoniac, he's going to try and come around the last corner here. And this is the last lap at the moment. He's going to use all his ERS here, and he's still 1 second off his best, so obviously he's not going to pit to come out behind O'Stephen a few laps ago to get fastest lap, but coming on to the last lap here using 4th gear for turn 1. It's been an absolutely flawless drive from Demoniac, coming from 5th up into the lead, and he's never looked back. The gap with him and O'Stephen early on around lap 10 was about, I'd say, 3 seconds, but since then it's just been growing gradually, and O'Stephen in second, of no fault of his own, he just can't do anything with Demoniac's pace. O'Stephen's put on a really good performance, just 1 DNF away with Demoniac from taking a win. Andy's going to go for fastest lap on this next lap, so be careful of that. That rhymes quite nicely. But Demoniac is going to come through the last sector here. I think he's pushing quite hard with his ERS here, so he could set a PB, but he is 2 tenths down. The AlphaTauri man has had a brilliant race here, really on his debut proving his worth as an F4 driver, maybe even F3 in the future. Demoniac in the AlphaTauri is going to navigate the last chicane nicely here. It's been 33 laps of total dominance from him. He qualified P5, but he's going to finish the race first. Demoniac is going to take the flag in the AlphaTauri. Brilliant race from him. And O'Stephen, he's going to be 7 seconds behind. He's just going to finish with 2nd place. That's going to be his first podium in, I think, since Austria maybe in F2 last season, officially. And Andy here, he's improving by 3 tenths. He's going to set a new fastest lap in a Red Bull. We had 14 to start off with. Had 3 to obviously finish the race. A lot of DNS at turn 9. All these drivers who are finishing the race, they have had a very, very long day at the office, with a lot of them not being around anyone throughout the whole of the race. Andy, I can't remember an overtake he did on track. I don't think many of them did. But at the end of the day, he finished the race, and I think he's going to set a new fastest lap, just having a look. He's probably going to get into the 17s here, which is quite respectable, using all the ERS he has, and it's going to be a 17.2, I think that was. So Andy does take the fastest lap, which would have been 16 points to his name in a new season, but Red Bull as well. Andy gets drive of the day. I think it might have gone to day-night if he kept in a race, but obviously he retired around lap 29, but Demoniac, he's going to take the champagne, the top step of the podium in the AlphaTauri. Really strong race from him. Brilliant debut as well, don't forget. And that is the Spanish Grand Prix. Yeah, no worries.
Someone was just screaming at my fiance, so
Jesus.
I don't think this guys want to hear that.
As Demoniac, who's actually Belgian, so that's something new I've learned. He takes the win from O'Stephen in second, who he was 5 tenths off Demoniac's fastest lap, which I think probably was what he was losing every 3 laps, maybe 5 tenths. So O'Stephen just couldn't really stick it with Demoniac. He tried his best, which was obviously all good, but if Demoniac slacks off for one race, I think O'Stephen will be there, won't he, to take the win?
Yeah, Demoniac, at the start of the season, it's all about consistency. It's all about how you start the season off and how you are in the middle section of the season, in the middle part of the season. So it's going to be quite tight at the top of the championship, drivers' championship. So Demoniac has, if he's serious about winning the championship, he has to put in that consistency. He has to push himself to the limit each week. O'Stephen, he's also another one that's a very good driver. We're going to want to be going for that drivers' championship, so it could be anyone's championships. And I apologise about earlier.
Yeah, no
going back
worries.
to the constructors' championship, what you asked me, I think it was Lewis. I think you asked me about. I can't remember what car he was in.
Williams, or sorry, Alpine, I think.
Alpine, I think it was you said, they have the capability of doing extremely well in the Constructors' Championship, but I think O'Stephen and the Danes Knight, those two were two very good Ferrari drivers that can handle the turns where they need to, and it is going to get very interesting come the end of the season in the Constructors' Championship. So I think it's going to be quite a close one, but I think Ferrari might just edge the Constructors' Championship.
It'll be interesting, definitely, if O'Stephen and Day Knight stick together. And I'm just gonna leave the session as we should do during the post-race interviews. I think it's O'Stephen by himself at the moment. We've got a few here, so I'll see you in the F4 post-race interviews. And we're here, I think, for the post-race interviews. We've got, it looks like O'Stephen, Jake, and just looking, and as Dan joins, Lewis as well. So, O'Stephen, are you there?
Yep. No.
So, O'Stephen, it was second place for the Spanish Grand Prix. Your first podium, or I think it was in a long time. It might have been Austria last season in F2, but a really strong result in second. Obviously, it was just a little bit shy of first, but surely you can be happy with a second place.
I am and I aren't. I am because it's second place, obviously, but I was like Vettel yesterday. I tried. The guy in front was just too consistent. He wasn't getting no ones, no penalties, and he didn't get any at all during the race. So, yeah, good race from him.
Yeah.
The start of the race was just chaos again. And yeah, that's the reason why damage should be turned off. But yeah, it's a game as well because people just can't race on the curbs and they're just flying off everywhere. So I just thought I'd just not get into trouble, and thankfully I didn't collect anyone this race.
Yeah. Well, after lap 5, obviously we kind of settled into a frenzy of once the DNFs calmed down. You were out on your own in P2, just chugging along nicely. Did you ever think, with the undercuts, you could have possibly forced Dzoniak to possibly just to fall behind you, or do you feel like his consistency was always there to stay out in front?
It could have been interesting because I actually thought that I might actually do a one stop and go on the hards, but I just thought no, because I'll have no tyres left at the end of the race. Because before I did a Grand Prix mode and I did 25 laps on the hard, so I knew they would last. And obviously the session was restarted, so I would have probably made it. But he might have got me at the end with a tyre wear and stuff. So I just thought I'll go in first and then see what happens. And then if I was 2 seconds behind him, I just couldn't keep up with him.
Yeah, and
just a tenth or two every lap, and then towards the end of the race I did get the gap down by a second, but then he just got 3 tenths, 4 tenths again, so it was rather annoying.
Yeah, and obviously you can't do much about that, but in terms of next season, do you think you could possibly fight for Constructors as well as the Drivers' Championship?
It depends if the person who said they wanted to be my teammate actually turns up, because he hasn't turned up yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting. I might be open to offers if anyone wants to be my teammate next season, and they're half decent.
Yeah.
So yeah, me and Damon, maybe.
Well, yeah. It's good to hear you're a free agent on the market, but in terms of possibly into Bahrain and the first 3 races, which are Bahrain, China and Spain, once again returning to Spain, do you think maybe in those first few races you can start to get some podiums, and with your consistency maybe be towards the pointy end of that championship?
If it's like today's race, then I'll be probably consistent, but it just depends if I'm collected up in these incidents. because we've got a few people that are faster coming back next week as well. If they're in F4, that is. So it'll be interesting to see who we have left for next week and stuff. So. Yeah.
And we had a lot missing today as well, didn't we? So it'll be interesting to see with all the ones who didn't make it today whether we can maybe possibly get a full grid for round 1 Bahrain. But obviously, best of luck for. I think we'll be seeing you next time for Bahrain in 2 weeks' time for the first race of the season. So best of luck till then.
Is it not next week? No.
No, the teammates are released next week, and the teams, and the tiers.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
as we move on to second in the post-race interviews, or I think the second person, which is, if we just have a look, I think it would be Lewis KYFC if he's here. Lewis KYFC, are you there? I don't think he's there. Is the Lewis or Lewis FRL Lewis there? Okay, so we'll interview you as you had a pretty good race in terms of the first few laps until obviously it became unstuck with the DNF. But obviously it wasn't the best of races, but you managed to get a lap in qualifying and kind of get a taster for F4, which obviously you haven't had before. Do you think it looks quite solid for you next season, considering with the amount of DNFs, possibly by just staying in a race alone, you could be in with a chance of a podium? Yeah, obviously it wasn't the nicest of endings, but you had your brother, obviously Jake, as your teammate. I think it was at Alpine for the second time of the restart. So, as I think that might have been Lewis KYC. But you had obviously your brother as your teammate joining back. He crashed out as well, obviously glitched the first time round. Do you think we will be seeing both of you consistently as teammates next season, or is that something maybe you just fighting for yourself with the drivers and not really being too interested in the constructors? Yeah, good to see. And hopefully we do. Obviously seeing you in 2 weeks. How do you think you'll fare in Bahrain? Because I don't think you made the pre-season race last week of Bahrain, did you? Do you think possibly maybe in Bahrain you'll be on for a point finish, or what in particular are you aiming for? Maybe a podium, top 5, or what? Yeah, good to hear that you're going to be towards the front now, obviously, after F2. And best of luck for... we will see you in 2 weeks' time around Sakir for the Bahrain Grand Prix, the first race of the season. And yeah, best of luck till then. As we might have heard Lewis there, but if Lewis KYFC... Ah, okay, so... So who's this? Ah, well that's completely thrown me off now. Okay, so this is Lewis KYFC, right? Okay, I've got it wrong again. Okay, this is FRL. Yeah, this makes sense now. Okay, so you obviously... yeah, you're both lost. You were teammates with Jake, but you had to only put one lap in qualifying, and you did look fairly fast, FRL Lewis, and I think I'll just call you Lou. It makes it easier. You FRL Lewis, I'll call you Lou. So your pace was quite strong. I've seen you quite a few times in time trial. You look fairly decent in F4, but do you think maybe there was more potential if you just stayed in the race for a good finish there to maybe fight a few guys like Andy? Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it wasn't obviously the best of endings, but would you say Spain is one of your stronger tracks or weaker tracks? Because we didn't see much of you on the track, but in terms of Bahrain, if that's maybe a stronger track for you, do you think you'll be possibly up there in the top five, maybe even fighting for a podium? Oh god. Mhm. It will be a learning curve for sure, but obviously into just generally next season, do you think you will be looking for anything in particular? Maybe your first win, your first podium in FRL? Do you think that's something you're going to be aiming for in general next season? Hmm. Yeah, and I think points is definitely very, very, very easy for you to get given your pace you showed today and some points. But best of luck, obviously in 2 weeks' time to see what you've got at Bahrain, and hopefully it works out a little bit better than the pre-season has. Yeah, no worries. As I think we had Ayrton Senna joined, and I think just looking at the finishers and who was where, let me see who we've got. I think we've got Jake in this party. It will be um, if Ayrton Senna is here. No, it's Jake Gamer. I think is now. Yeah. So is Jake Gamer here in a party? Ah, I haven't heard from you before, so this will be interesting. So obviously you made your, I think, first time ever on stream on FRL Live. It didn't probably go the way you would have liked it to, but you managed to obviously make the race first of all. So, are you exciting generally for things to come with F4 with just racing against these guys a bit more than you did today? Oh, solid. And especially in terms of you didn't manage to do many laps, obviously finishing P9 in the Alpine. Do you imagine you'll be fighting the top 10, or do you think possibly you'll be aiming just to kind of finish the races and get used to all the tracks to start off with? Hmm. Would you say Spain as well is one of your weaker tracks? Because a lot of the drivers don't like Spain generally, but there are a few who do like it. So where's your head at with Spain? Do you like it, or aren't you not too keen? Yeah, and I think we saw you crashing, was it at turn 9 or the pit lane? Was that a lapse in concentration, or didn't you have a little collision with the new begin? Or Yes. Yeah, obviously not the way you wanted things to end, but just moving on to Bahrain, do you think that'll be a bit of a stronger track for you? It's a little bit more basic and easier to overtake as well, so do you think that will be easier to keep it on track and hopefully have some battles along the way? Good to hear. Well, obviously best of luck for F4 with you getting your first points even, and maybe even finishing a race, obviously, because it's one step at a time, but best of luck in F4 in 2 weeks' time for Bahrain, and I'm sure you'll be right up there. As I think Ayrton Senna, he's in the party as well, which might be the last interview.
Hello. Yes, I'm
And
there.
okay, solid. Well, you had a really, really strong qualifying, being second. I think that was pretty out of the blue there, and obviously the race didn't go fairly to plan, but your pace was really strong in terms of qualifying, just being about a tenth, I think it was, off pole. Do you think possibly you could have got pole if you found a bit of time, maybe in a few corners, or what sector in particular did you find you could have found time at?
I think it was around sector 3 I could have had pole, but like going into the right-hander for the chicane at the left, I spun a bit and it put me off the track, so I lost like a tenth into it, and it put me in second.
Yeah, it was obviously not the best, but you had a really good battle at the start of the race with Illicit Brownie, which obviously sadly ended. I think it was turn 7 and 8 where you went spearing off, but do you think there's loads of potential in you? Because obviously a lot of the drivers didn't finish the race, but you were leading the race before you crashed. Do you think there's some boasting rights you have to say possibly for next season you're a title contender, or is that a stretch too far?
I think it's a stretch too far. I'll be happy with a P7 or a P8 with the constructors, and in the drivers' championship I'll be happy with a P6 or P5.
Well, that would be definitely interesting to see how you get on next season. Obviously, only done Bahrain pre-season as of yet, but going into next season, the first couple of races of Bahrain, China, Spain, and I think it's Azerbaijan after that. Do those sorts of tracks towards the start of the season favour you, or will you be looking more towards the end of the line with Brazil, Mexico, and Abu Dhabi to kind of look where your wins and podiums will be?
To be honest, I'm looking forward to the last bit of the season, because Bahrain is good for me, but Spain is just an absolute spin fest for me. I'm not really that good with it.
And I think it was the issue with a lot of people, but obviously for next season, do you know at all as well what car you might be driving or picking next season? Do you have any preferences?
I'm just hoping McLaren, really. Like, it's a team that I quite like, maybe because of Ayrton Senna and that, because he were really good at McLaren. It's the reason why I picked my username as this, but I'm hoping McLaren, and if not, maybe Williams.
Well, that would be definitely interesting to see you up there. Hopefully, with that Ayrton Senna name, it would be quite fitting. But best of luck in 2 weeks' time for Bahrain. I'm sure you'll be able to get your first points, maybe even podium of FRL. So best of luck till then.
Alright, thanks.
And I think that could be the interviews all complete. I was looking at the party. Yeah, it's all done. So, obviously, well done to all the drivers who finished the race and all the ones who actually came to join. It's all appreciated. Thanks to Dan who commentated as well. And in general, hopefully we get a good next season. Tiers will be announced tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I think it is. So wait till then until we know the full drivers. But will be very interesting next season, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the first race of the season at Bahrain, Sakir. And see you till then. Oh, yep. I'm still here. Yep.
So, basically in the race, the reason why I spun at turn 9 was I was having issues with my tyres. They weren't heating up properly, so I was at like 75% of my tyres, like every turn.
Who's
and
this
then they
again?
were overheating on the straights.
This is low risk KYFC.
Ah, okay. Oh, that makes sense now, of course, yeah. Well, obviously that wasn't the best, but we'll see next race in Bahrain how you do in 2 weeks' time. And I think that concludes the F4 stream. It will be very interesting to see in Bahrain if we do get hopefully a few more drivers, maybe even the full grid, but see you guys till then.